Hey, welcome air signs and welcome to the middle of August. Let's see what the universe wants you to know. Looking good, air signs. So we've got some healing in the past that's been going on. At the moment there's a spring energy, so there's an activation. And coming up in the future we've got manifesting dreams, which is a very strong card to have in the future. So this looks really good, air signs. So we've got some balance that's been made, a bit of trickery with the devil, and yeah, landing in a good position there with the Nine of Pentacles. Judgment, bit of a wake-up call. Beautiful. So we've got the Star card in the heart of the reading. That tends to wipe away all negativity, and it's just a really strong card to have there. Really speaks to a lot of hope. And then we've got some choices that need to be made from that position. And we've got in the future sort of a bit of an idling that's happening with the Two of Wands. Tends to be a card of maybe hesitation. The Wheel of Fortune showing some karmic movement, and then landing on the Two of Swords. So might be a little bit of a blockage there in terms of deciding what you want. And if there's Librans in this, which there are, then that's kind of an ongoing thing. Same with Geminis as well. Yeah, we'll see how this unfolds further. Coming up really strong here, air signs, showing that with Bear Spirit there has been some healing, rejuvenation, and maybe going into a bit of a hibernation. So this can be a time of, I guess, uncertainty on one level. On the other level, it's a sign of being in a state of being prepared for the oncoming energy and more activation that's coming up. So it really pays to not see sometimes this withdrawal as there's something wrong, but more so that your recuperation. That takes a bit of discipline, doesn't it? And a bit of foresight. Sometimes I get into those healing phases and I just think I'm stagnating. I start to sort of conjure up these stories about what I should be doing instead. And then all of a sudden energy comes back in and you're like, oh shit, I'm glad I didn't totally burn the candle at both ends when I was meant to be healing and resting. So this is showing here with the Justice card. There's a poised woman here who's kind of weighing things out, weighing justice and mercy, but I feel like for you at this time it's just an adjustment. So this is on the horizon behind you, but it's probably still going on, I feel, at the moment. There's just this adjustment and needing to keep check of your energy, keep check of your balance, and making sure you're not overspending at the moment. The Devil card underneath there shows, I think for some of you, that it's been hard to stay away from some vices during this healing phase. Vices, I mean, anything that has a kind of an addictive capacity, they tend to come in when we're feeling vulnerable. And usually when we're going through healing, we're actually feeling vulnerable. So it's been a bit of a challenge to kind of keep them in check. But I feel like looking at the Nine of Pentacles here afterwards, you've really looked at what value they have. And look, short-term gains sometimes are good, but I think through this healing, this has actually been part of the healing, is going, hey, what in your life is just draining the shit out of you? Overall, it's not working. It might be meeting your needs short-term superficially, but overall, it's not working. For me, I notice phone usage goes up, and I'm kind of trying to avoid myself with that. And that's okay. Just notice that if that's happening for you. Could be any kind of substance, but it's just anything that you are hoping it solves something for you, even if that's lifting your energy, making you feel like you're fully healed already, just kind of anything that's protracting this process out. And so looking at the 9 here, she's in a beautiful garden, and there's a sense of really evaluating things. It's a Virgo card, so it's got this sense of knowing what's worthy and what isn't, and only keeping what's worthy in your garden. So there might have been a pruning phase that's gone on with this. You're coming up really strong in the present, so we've got this spring energy, which is the subtext of that is called activation. So a bit more life force starting to come in, which is really good to see. And that's probably because you have been doing that healing as well. And we've got coming off that the Judgment card. So in this image, it's interesting, we've got the higher self here depicted as the angel. And then you've got these figures down here in the graves, and they're stepping out of their old life. So it's a really powerful major arcana card, and it augurs really just a cleansing that's happening, and kind of like waking up with renewed vision and renewed perspective and renewed inspiration as well. So that's a really beautiful thing to have there. And we've got the star in the middle. What more could you want, really? So this card's all about finding that North Star again, finding that purpose, that meaning, that inspiration as well. It's also a card of looking into Pandora's box and actually finding amazing things in there, rather than it being what one first thought was going to be a scary kind of can of worms. So it's asking that you shed some of this light on these parts of your life that potentially you've been not really paying attention to or avoiding, and just trusting that there's a natural intelligence to you and to the universe, and things are moving into a place of harmony. We just got to take the blocks out and just gently be there. So this could look like sitting with shame, guilt, judgment, and maybe just stuff around your self-worth, and really just being with those aspects of yourself in a tender kind of way, and that'll start to shift things and heal things. And underneath that there is, I feel like this, the word deliberation came into my mind. So there's kind of a deliberation around what path to take and what options to choose. So as you can see in this image, this figure has many different things to pick from. And so that can be overwhelming. And it's interesting, the word deliberate, it's like it deliberates you. So it's like this thing of needing to make the right decision actually keeps us trapped. So maybe just letting go of the need to make a choice right now and flow. And that's very much what I feel with the Star card, with all this water in here. And she's got both vessels, and just kind of letting things come in and letting things go out. So yeah, I think some of you really need to hear that. Sometimes not choosing is the best choice. What's coming up in the future is water spirit, so manifesting dreams. So more water. It's very similar to this card actually, even though they're not from the same deck. Just getting a feeling here of coming back to what you do want, rather than focusing on what you don't want or being in resistance to what was. So it takes a bit of guts and courage to ask yourself, hey, what do I want? And then to notice also the resistances come in, or the, oh no, you don't deserve that, or these protective thoughts that sort of dampen our inspiration and aspirations. So with the Two of Wands here, this character is sitting on the edge of his fortress. So there's a safety here, looking out, and there's a sense of like, you know, I've already got everything I need. And that in a way is true, because, you know, I'm sure for most of you, you're in, you know, a pretty lucky part of the world. A lot of your base needs are met. But I think this is asking you to look beyond just base needs of safety and warmth and connection, and looking at more self-realization, which is this beautiful alchemy that we're all moving towards, whether we're conscious of it or not. And I feel like I'm sort of drawing upon that because of this Judgment card here. So it's asking to look a little bit higher into what you want to experience while you're on this earth, and if that is deeper connection with yourself, deeper connection with others, what kind of feelings do you want to feel? Is it more wonder, more magic? For me, that's something I have to really keep reminding myself that fills my cup, is to do things that feel magical. You know, that kind of ripples out, and then the mundane things in life feel magical as well. So the Wheel of Fortune here is showing you really do have an opportunity coming up to throw those desires into the mix. And the practice I think that people get stuck on is they get attached to their desires, and then that causes suffering, because desires are a form and all form changes. So the yogic practice of having desire without attachment, you can't lose really, because not only are you putting your will forth, you're sort of then stepping back and going, I'm not attached to that, I'm going to let the universe or this wheel take care of it. So it's an exercise of knowing yourself and valuing your own will, but then also stepping back and letting the universe take over a bit, you know. So it's about just having enough kind of energy to sort of put something out there, but then just actually going into a state of surrender after that and trust. Obviously revisit things as you go, but yeah, I think that's a really beautiful practice. It's definitely something that works for me, and I tend to suffer the most when I'm either in too much yin, which is where I haven't been creating any desire, and I'm just sort of like, or there's almost too much yang, where I've created these desires, but then I'm like holding on to them, and I want to control how it's going to come about. So strike that balance in the middle where you mix both of them up. Yeah, and we've got the Two of Swords at the end here. I think this is showing, I feel like this is actually exemplifying that surrender. It's not traditionally how this card is read, but I just feel like with this image it is about sort of like not needing to see everything, not needing to have all the details mapped out, and just letting yourself be a bit blind. It's quite a peaceful figure, and the moon here I feel like showing it's more in that receptive role, receptive energy. And there's a lot of water, big body of water here as well, so letting that cosmic flow happen again too. We'll unpack these a little bit more with these clarifying cards. But yeah, really powerful reading. I'm sensing there's a lot of change and growth happening, even if most spiritual growth is subtle, so others may not notice it, but you certainly are. And it's sort of hard when others don't notice it, because it doesn't feel like it's as real. But just know that most spiritual growth is on that more sublime, subtle layer, and so just, you know, trust that it's going to eventually mirror out into the physical space, but it will take a bit of time. There's a germination period with that. So with the Judgment card, we've got the Knight, or the King of Discs. This is a very business-like card. So I think you're going to have to, with this new activation of energy, just be a little bit practical around how you want things to manifest. So on one sense, you know, articulate your desires, but on another sense, just make sure you're taking care of the sort of structural components of that. So how are things going to fit into your life? You don't have to know all the answers or all the details, but it's just asking to add a little bit more of that conscientiousness into the mix as well, so it's not too fluffy. And the Star card, got the Queen of Swords, so another court card. I feel like with this, you know, hope and positivity and cosmic flow, really need to make sure your mind has some points throughout the day where it can be in a bit more of a meditative state. So the Queen of Swords, as you can see in this picture, hopefully you can see it, she's very much lifted up into the sky, and there's just a bird's eye view going on. And I think that we can start to feel more blessed in our life when we just have more peace. And so, you know, coming off the back of making sure these vices haven't taken a stranglehold, This card's kind of encouraging one to just make sure there's some detachment, healthy detachment going on. Whatever that version is for you. It could be even a TV show if you're a silly TV show, if you don't watch them that often. But whatever it is for you, just something that, you know, feels really simple and healthy and detached. Just to give you that kind of bird's eye view again, and connect up to something higher. So with all these different choices down the bottom, another court card. So we've got the Princess of Discs, or the Page of Discs. So it does show there is this germination. In this figure, she's pregnant. So there's this real pregnant gestation period going on, but it's mixed with this. So I feel like as long as you're not in your mind too much about trying to make the right decision, come back to your body and just know that there's a growth happening and you are giving birth to something new. And just like it is in real life, except for all the modern scans, we don't often see what it is until it's kind of near its end. And I really feel that at the moment. There needs to be some kind of allowing things to be in the darkness. Yeah. So with the Two of Wands, we've got the Five of Wands. So yeah, there's a bit of that hesitation there, and there's a bit of that worry. The Five of Wands is can be a card of sort of poverty consciousness, or just seeing things how they can't work out, rather than giving space for how it could work out. So I feel like there's some protective blocks that have in the past maybe kept you secure and safe, but at this present time, it's just making you hesitate to even imagine what is possible. And just notice that when you go to imagine something or what you really want in terms of manifesting your dreams, just notice what comes in. And it'll be these sneaky, sly, they're very helpful, but you need to kind of take charge again of your own consciousness and acknowledge that they did probably help you at some point, but there'll be just this kind of dampening or squashing that happens. I know that with the things I deeply want, there's often the most resistance to it, because I think at the end of the day, aren't we all scared of getting what we want? Because that could potentially not be as amazing as we think, or it means we're going to have to step into a new power in ourselves, which can feel a bit shaky. There's many reasons why, but at the end of the day, just be aware of that kind of cup half empty vibe that might sneak in there. The Wheel of Fortune, we've got the Hermit. So this is showing there's more depth that needs to be acquired internally. So it's really reinforcing those other cues in this reading that need to take a little bit more time for yourself and get to know what's inside and ask yourself those questions. Do some journaling, speak it out with a close friend, do some tarot with a friend, whatever it is that just helps you bring a bit more light inside rather than scrambling on the outside world. But I feel like if you connect with someone else while doing that, it can sometimes make it more powerful. They might have something to add, or they might be going through something similar. So even though it's the Hermit card, I feel like it'd be good to open up with someone about, you know, what you're wanting to manifest. So lastly, with the Two of Swords, I've got the Prince, another court card, a page, sorry, of Wands. There's a lot of court cards that have come up. So this is really showing just letting your desires inflame you. So maybe doing some kind of practice where, yeah, it's good to, you know, set that intention and then step back. But in terms of coming up with your intention, I really feel this sense of just letting yourself do the whole, like, if I had a magic wand, what could I have? Or just letting these deep primal desires kind of percolate up and inflame you a bit more. So are you wanting more depth in your life, more sex, more expression? So there's a real kind of intoxicating, fiery energy I'm feeling with this, which is in a way a little bit at odds with this. But, you know, too much of this fire energy can create frustration, and impatience, and obviously too much of this Two of Wands energy can create a sort of avoidance or aversion or turning a blind eye. So it is that dance again of activating and then going back into surrender around, probably around when it should happen. That tends to get people the most, and we become kind of impatient. So beautiful reading, air signs. Yeah, lots to discover. I'm excited for you, and it's really cool to see that there's been this healing, and then now you're stepping into a bit more energy and activation, and then some dreaming coming up. Thanks for joining me. If you like this video, hit the like button below. It just means it gets to more people. I'd love to hear feedback. It always helps keep me going. And share this with anyone you think would benefit. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.